Most men make one mistake without realizing it. They ask her to explain who she is. But here's the truth. The version she tells you isn't the whole story. It's the version she wants you to believe. The curated past. The one that feels safest to say out loud. But what if you could see the truth? Not by digging, not by begging, but by watching the signs she doesn't even know she's showing? In this video, I'll show you how to read her story without her ever saying a word. Because real clarity doesn't come from asking, it comes from seeing. Part 1. Validation over connection. What her craving for attention really means. Most men think attention is harmless. Harmless when she posts another selfie. Harmless when she brings up who slid into her DMs. Harmless when she casually says, "Guys at the gym just don't leave me alone." But here's the truth. It's not the attention itself, it's what fuels it. You're not judging her. You're reading the signal beneath the story. A woman's relationship with attention reveals far more than you'd expect, especially when that attention becomes a need, not a preference. Because when attention becomes oxygen, it usually means she's suffocating somewhere else. If she lights up every time someone validates her looks but goes quiet when the conversation turns inward, what you're seeing isn't confidence, it's compensation. Many women who were emotionally neglected in their past by parents, by partners, or by themselves develop a subtle addiction to external validation, not out of vanity, but out of survival. When love was inconsistent, attention became the closest substitute. And now, being seen feels like being safe. That's why she brings it up unprompted, not because she's bragging, but because it reassures her that she still matters. The likes, the stares, the compliments, they're not just flattering, they're proof that she hasn't faded, that she still exists in someone else's eyes. But here's the catch. When a woman craves validation more than connection, your presence alone will never be enough. Because she's not seeking you, she's seeking the feeling that comes from being desired. And that means the moment you stop feeding that loop, even unintentionally, she might drift. Not out of betrayal, but habit. She'll chase the next compliment, the next reaction, the next hit of reassurance. This isn't about blaming her. It's about seeing clearly. A woman who is secure in herself can enjoy attention without being owned by it. She might smile at a compliment, but she doesn't need it to feel whole. But a woman who's still healing, she'll mistake being noticed for being loved. And you'll feel like you're constantly auditioning just to keep her interested. So when you meet a woman, don't just notice how she looks, notice how she handles being looked at. Does she light up from within, or only when others notice her? Does she post for joy or for reassurance? The difference is subtle, but it's everything. In relationships, attention should be enjoyed, not worshipped. The woman who constantly needs to be seen is often the one who hasn't seen herself clearly in years. And no matter how much you care, you can't fill that kind of void for her. Part 2. The mirror effect. What her words about other women reveal about herself. You can tell a lot about a woman not just by how she talks to you, but by how she talks about others, especially other women. At first, it seems harmless. A passing comment about someone's outfit, a story about a friend who's too dramatic, a sarcastic eye roll about another girl being so fake. But the truth is, those words aren't really about them. They're windows into how she sees herself. A woman who is at peace internally rarely tears down others to feel strong. She doesn't need to compare, compete, or call someone else too much just to feel like she's enough. But a woman who still carries invisible bruises, betrayals, self-doubt, rejection often projects those wounds onto others, not maliciously, often without even realizing it. If every woman she mentions is a mess, trying too hard, probably cheating, or just wants attention. Pause. Ask yourself, is this truth or insecurity echoing through her tone? Women don't always express pain by crying. Many express it through criticism, especially toward other women. And here's why that matters. The way she sees them is the way she's likely learned to see herself. If she's quick to call others fake, she may fear she's not authentic. If she constantly questions other women's loyalty, she may have been betrayed or perhaps even done the betraying. If she proudly claims, "I just don't get along with women," don't mistake that for strength. That's often not independence. That's isolation masquerading as confidence. And here's the real danger. If she sees women as rivals, she may eventually see you as a resource to win at a person to connect with. Because when someone's stuck in a mindset of comparison, even love becomes a game of leverage. Now, this isn't about judging her. It's about observing what kind of emotional world she's still living in. Does she uplift others or undermine them? Does she express compassion or competition? Those answers will tell you what kind of relationship you're stepping into. You're not just listening to gossip. You're listening for grief in disguise. So next time she talks about someone else, don't just nod along. Watch her eyes. Hear her tone. Feel the tension or peace beneath her words. Because sometimes the sharpest judgment isn't toward others. It's the reflection of a woman still fighting to accept herself. And you? You need to know if you're loving a woman or stepping into the aftermath of a war she hasn't finished fighting. Part 3. The wound behind her words when her view of men still bleeds from the past. She might laugh when she says it. "Ugh, men are the worst." It might sound like a joke. But sometimes, behind that joke, there's something raw, unhealed, unspoken. The way a woman talks about men in general isn't just casual commentary. It's emotional residue, a trail of what she's survived. And while she may be kind to you, don't make the mistake of thinking her bitterness isn't real just because she's smiling. Here's what most men miss. When she says, "Guys always leave," or "Men can't be trusted," she's not theorizing. She's remembering. And the thing about memory is it doesn't need to be logical. It just needs to hurt enough to stick. A woman who carries deep emotional bruises often builds quiet defenses around her beliefs. Maybe she was cheated on, lied to, abandoned when she needed someone most. Maybe it wasn't just one man, but a pattern so consistent it started to feel like a law of nature. So now, even when you're different of it, when you're showing up, she might brace for your exit before you've even considered leaving. You'll see it in the way she gets cold when you're quiet. The way she tests you just to see if you'll disappear like the last one. You'll hear it in the way she talks about her exes or even strangers on the street. She might say things like, "They're all the same. They only want one thing. They change as soon as they get what they want." But pay attention. She's not talking about men, she's talking about the ghost still haunting her trust. Now, here's where you have to be careful. Your instinct might be to prove her wrong, to be so good that she starts believing in love again. But the truth is, if her wound is still open, she might bleed on you, even if you didn't cut her. And if her beliefs about men are deeply damaged, then you're not just dating her. You're dating every heartbreak she hasn't made peace with. That doesn't make her a bad person. It makes her a mirror, reflecting where she's been, revealing how far she still has to go. Your job isn't to rescue her from those beliefs. It's to recognize them for what they are, a survival mechanism. Then ask yourself, honestly, are you ready to love someone who still flinches at kindness? Who questions stability because instability is all she's known? Because love without clarity becomes sacrifice. And a man who doesn't know what he's walking into often ends up carrying burdens that were never his to bear. Part 4. When the past fights through her, how conflict reveals the girl who was left behind. You'll never fully know someone by how they act when things are good. You learn who they truly are when things go wrong, when tension rises, when plans fall through, when you say something that unintentionally hits a nerve. That's when the real history comes out, and not always in words. It might show up as silence, as overreaction, as blame, retreat, or sudden emotional distance. And you'll wonder, why is she reacting this strongly to something so small? But what you're seeing isn't about now. It's her then trying to protect her now. Conflict is one of the most honest mirrors, because no one rehearses for it. It catches us off guard and reveals the wiring we built when we were trying to survive. If she was abandoned in the past, she might panic the moment she senses emotional distance. If she was ignored, even your quiet thinking face might trigger her into assuming she's being dismissed again. If she was hurt for speaking up, she might shut down instead of express herself because somewhere along the way, silence felt safer than vulnerability. You're not arguing with just her, you're confronting the parts of her that still carry fear, defense, and memory. She may accuse you of things you never did. She may test you, withdraw from you, or explode emotionally, and then regret it. That isn't manipulation. That's a girl who once cried and no one came. A girl who once needed understanding and was met with punishment. The man who understands this won't take it personally, but he won't ignore it either. Because if you brush it off, you'll stay stuck in cycles that aren't yours to fix. And if you try to be her savior, you might drown in waves that started long before you ever arrived. Your role is to observe the pattern, to notice what sets it off, to stay grounded in who you are so you don't get pulled into emotional reenactments that leave you both exhausted. Conflict is not the enemy, it's the highlighter. It shows you where the healing is needed. It reveals whether she knows how to repair, or whether she's still swinging in the dark. And maybe, just maybe, it helps you see clearly too, that you're not being punished. You're just standing in the path of a past that never got closure. Part 5. Emotional flashpoints. What her reactions reveal when words can't. Not every wound leaves a visible scar. Some live in silence until the right moment presses against them. Then they speak not in words, but in reactions. You'll notice it in the way she suddenly changes when a certain song plays, or how she avoids a particular type of movie, or how she stiffens when you mention something completely innocent like trust, family, or being left out. These aren't coincidences. They're emotional flashpoints, unresolved moments from her past that still flicker beneath the surface, waiting for a trigger. You won't see them in casual conversation. You won't find them by asking directly, because these are the things even she may not have fully processed. A woman might go silent when a scene in a film mirrors abandonment. She may laugh too hard when someone brings up betrayal because laughing is safer than remembering. Or she may appear oddly cold when someone near her expresses deep emotion, not because she doesn't care, but because she was never allowed to. We all build emotional armor. Some of it looks like detachment. Some of it looks like control. But beneath it is a version of her that was once wide open and got hurt for it. That's what you're observing. Not just her present self, but the emotional architecture built from a lifetime of wins, losses, and survival strategies. So don't judge too quickly when she overreacts to something small. She's not being dramatic. She's remembering without realizing it. And just as important, pay attention to what doesn't move her. When you share something vulnerable and she shrugs it off, it might not be because she's heartless. It could be that emotions were never safe where she came from. So now, even when others open up, she doesn't know how to meet them there. The man who understands this sees beyond the moment. He doesn't chase explanations. He doesn't demand logic from emotions that were never treated logically in the first place. He simply notices, and from that noticing, decides if this is a journey he's prepared to walk with her, or one he needs to step back from. Because emotional flashpoints don't just reveal her past, they preview your future. And if you're not ready to hold space for her wounds or your own, it's better to see it now than when both of you are too deep to pull back. This isn't about diagnosing her. It's about protecting your peace and recognizing that the loudest part of someone's story is often what they can't say. Part 6. Blueprint of the Heart: How Her Family History Shapes the Way She Loves. If you want to understand how a woman loves, listen to how she speaks about where she came from. You don't need a therapy session. You don't need to pry. You just need to observe how her voice shifts when she says her father's name. Whether she lights up, goes quiet, or changes the subject entirely. Because her relationship with her parents, especially her father, is the blueprint. The emotional script that was written long before you ever showed up. And whether she's aware of it or not, she's still living by that script. If she had a father who was present, protective, and emotionally safe, she'll often carry that sense of trust into adulthood. She'll assume good intentions. She won't flinch when you raise your voice. She won't test your loyalty every time you take a day to yourself. But if her father was distant, critical, absent, or inconsistent, then love, for her, might be something to earn, not receive. She might expect withdrawal after vulnerability. She might brace for abandonment when nothing is even wrong. She might treat love like a job interview because it never felt like home. And it's not just about her father. It could be a mother who smothered instead of nurtured, a household where emotions were punished, or a family where perfection was the price of peace. When she brushes off questions with, "We weren't really close," or jokes, "Oh, you know, Asian dads don't really say I love you," don't take those words at face value. The truth often sits beneath the casual tone, in what's not being said. You'll notice it in her response to affection. Does she welcome it or shrink from it, like it's unfamiliar? You'll see it when you offer consistency. Does she relax or start pushing you away once things feel too stable? People recreate what's familiar, not always what's healthy. So if chaos was her normal, peace might make her anxious. If love once meant walking on eggshells, she may misread your stillness as disinterest. As a man, your role isn't to fix her foundation. It's to recognize what it was built on and decide whether you're walking into a home or a war zone wearing the mask of romance. Her past is not her fault, but it will shape your future with her if you pretend it doesn't exist. So don't just listen to how she loves you. Listen to how she learned what love even means. That's where the blueprint lives. Part 7. Unspoken clocks: How her words reveal if she's still living in the past. You don't have to ask her when her last relationship ended. She's already told you without knowing it. Listen closely. She says, "I used to love that place. We always went there." Pause on that word. We. She didn't say who, but you already know. The past leaks through pronouns, through timelines that don't quite match the present. That's the power of unspoken clocks. When a woman is still emotionally tied to a past relationship, she rarely says it outright. But it shows in the way she avoids specifics, in how she talks about rebuilding without explaining what fell apart, in how every story seems to reference a couple years ago, even when you didn't ask. And then there's silence. Moments she skips over, years she compresses into vague phrases like, "That was a rough time," or "I just needed to focus on myself." Those gaps? They're emotional landmines, places she's not ready to revisit or hasn't yet understood. A woman who's healed doesn't flinch when she names her past. She owns the timeline because it no longer owns her. But one who's still tangled in it, she edits, softens, rewrites the dates. Not to leave, but to protect the parts of her still bleeding. You'll notice it in how she talks about emotional milestones. Did she say, "I dated someone last year," and then talk like it ended yesterday? That emotional clock isn't synced with the calendar, it's still ticking. Healing isn't measured in months. It's measured in how freely someone speaks the truth without a lump in their throat. Here's the deeper truth. We all carry some version of the past with us, but some people are still living in it. Not because they want to, but because part of them never left. And when you enter a relationship with someone who's emotionally time traveling, you'll feel it. She'll react to you like you're someone else. She'll anticipate pain before you even give her a reason. She won't mean to compare you, but her history will whisper your name through someone else's ghost. Your job isn't to interrogate her. It's to observe with precision, to notice whether she speaks in healed truths or guarded fragments. Because one day, you'll realize the woman who says nothing about her past might be the one who's most shaped by it. And if her emotional clock is still set to another time, you'll never have all of her in the present. Part 8. The Quiet Man's Power: Why He Sees What Others Only Question. The men who ask the most questions often walk away with the least truth. Because real answers don't always come when you demand them. They come when you earn the silence between words. You've probably seen it before. The guy who can't help but ask, "What happened with your ex? Why do you seem distant? Are you still hurt from before?" And on the surface, he seems caring, engaged, curious. But underneath it, there's fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of being misled. Fear of stepping into someone's emotional world without a map. So he tries to interrogate his way into clarity. But all he gets is the curated version, the answers she's comfortable sharing, the highlight reel of a story that was never his to begin with. But the quiet man, he doesn't need the map. He reads the terrain. He notices when her tone shifts when she mentions a certain name. He feels the pause when she skips over a year in her timeline. He sees the flicker of emotion in her eyes when she laughs too quickly or not at all. He doesn't ask, "What hurt you?" He watches what she avoids, what she over-explains, and what she never jokes about. That's how he sees. And what he sees isn't just who she is now, but who shaped her, where she's still healing, and whether there's space for him in her future. He doesn't need confirmation. He needs alignment. And if it's not there, he walks not with resentment, but with clarity. The quiet man doesn't fall for the words. He listens to the energy, the pacing, the defensiveness, the patterns that repeat no matter who she's with. And most of all, he doesn't try to fix her. Because he knows, if she's still rewriting her story, it's not his job to edit it. It's his job to decide whether that story is one he wants to be part of. So while others chase information, press for answers, and dig into the past. He simply watches. And in that stillness, the truth reveals itself. Not because she confessed, but because she couldn't help but show it. And that's his power. Not in knowing everything, but in trusting what he sees without needing to ask. Because the man who can sit in silence and still understand, that's the man no mask can fool. The truth is, most people don't talk about their past. They live it. It shows up in the way they argue, the way they hesitate, the way they reach for connection or avoid it. And if you're the kind of man who learns to observe without trying to fix, who listens without interrupting, who sees without needing to ask, you become rare. You stop being the one who gets played, and you start becoming the one who chooses. Clarity is a quiet power. It doesn't shout, it doesn't beg. It simply sees and moves accordingly. So here's your 7-day clarity challenge. For the next 7 days, don't ask people to explain themselves. Just watch. Notice the way they change the subject, what they rush through, what they laugh off, and most of all, what they never say. The truth isn't always hidden. It's often right in front of you, waiting for a man who knows how to read it. If this message resonated, then you're not just here to learn about others, you're here to understand yourself. So if you found even one moment of clarity in this video, hit that like button to let me know. Subscribe for more Stoic insights that protect your peace, and share this with a friend who needs to stop chasing words and start reading silence. Until next time, keep your standards high, keep your energy calm, and keep your eyes open.